Imagine a world where one man, born into a life of hardship on the vast, unforgiving steppes of Mongolia, would go on to build the largest contiguous land empire in history. This isn't a fantasy novel. It's the real story of Genghis Khan. But how did a boy named Temujin, abandoned and left for dead, become the Great Khan, a name that would echo through centuries? Let's dive into the epic tale of his life. Our story begins around the year 1162. A baby is born into a nomadic tribe, clutching a blood clot in his tiny fist, a sign, according to Mongolian lore, that he was destined for greatness. This was Temujin. But his early life was anything but great. When he was just 9 years old, his father, a minor tribal chief, was poisoned by a rival clan. His own tribe, seeing no use for a woman and her young children, abandoned them to fend for themselves. The years that followed were brutal. Temujin and his family survived by eating roots, rodents, and whatever they could find. He learned to hunt, to fight, and most importantly, to endure. This was the crucible that forged his iron will. He was even captured and enslaved by a rival clan, forced to wear a wooden collar. But Temujin was not one to be caged. In a daring escape, he broke free, a moment that showcased the cleverness and determination that would define his future. As a young man, Temujin began to build alliances. He started with his blood brother, Jamuka, and sought the protection of a powerful chieftain named Tagriu, who had been an ally of his father. His first major test came when his new wife, Bert, was kidnapped by the Merkit tribe. This was a common practice on the steppes, but for Temujin it was personal. He couldn't let this stand. With the help of Jamuka and Togral, he launched a surprise attack, rescued Bert, and utterly crushed the Merkits. This victory wasn't just about saving his wife. It was a statement. It earned him respect, followers, and a reputation as a capable leader. From here, Temujin's influence grew. He started to unite the scattered, warring Mongol tribes under a single banner. But what made him so different from other would-be conquerors? It was his vision. He didn't just win battles. He built a society. He promoted people based on merit, not on their family ties or aristocratic birth. A shepherd could become a general if he proved his worth. This was revolutionary. He created a legal code known as the Yosa, which covered everything from property rights to a ban on kidnapping women. He established a communication system, the Yam, a sort of pony express that allowed messages and intelligence to travel across his growing domain with incredible speed. This unification wasn't a peaceful process, though. His rise created friction with his old friend, Jamuka. The two childhood friends became bitter rivals, their philosophies clashing. Jamuka favored the traditional aristocratic system, while Temujin championed meritocracy. Their rivalry culminated in a series of battles that split the Mongol world. In the end, Temujin emerged victorious. Jamuka was captured and, according to legend, requested an honorable death without his blood being spilled, a request Temujin granted. By 1206, Temujin had done the impossible. He had united all the tribes of the Mongolian plateau. At a grand assembly, a Kurultai, he was proclaimed the supreme leader of all Mongols and given the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. This wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning. Now, with a unified, disciplined, and incredibly loyal army at his command, Genghis Khan turned his gaze outward. The Mongol war machine was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Their army was composed almost entirely of cavalry, skilled horse archers who could ride for days, firing deadly volleys of arrows with astonishing accuracy while on the move. They were masters of psychological warfare, often offering cities the chance to surrender peacefully. If a city accepted, it would be spared and integrated into the empire. If it resisted, the consequences were devastating. The Mongols would show no mercy, a brutal but effective tactic that made many future enemies surrender without a fight. Their first major target was the western Xia kingdom to the south. After a series of campaigns, they forced it into submission. Next was the powerful Jin dynasty in northern China. This was a formidable foe with massive cities and advanced technology. The Mongols, initially unfamiliar with siege warfare, adapted quickly. They learned from captured engineers how to build siege engines like catapults and battering rams. In 1215, they captured the Jin capital of Zhongdu, now modern-day Beijing, a massive symbolic victory. Genghis Khan then turned his attention west, toward Central Asia and the massive Khwarazmian Empire, which stretched across modern-day Iran, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan. Initially, he sought trade and diplomatic ties. He sent a caravan of merchants and diplomats to the Khwarazmian Shah. In a fateful, foolish move, a local governor, accusing the caravan of being spies, had them executed. When Genghis Khan sent another envoy to demand an explanation, the Shah had him killed as well. This was an unforgivable insult. The wrath of the Mongols was now unleashed upon the Khwarazmian Empire. In what is considered one of the most brilliant military campaigns in history, Genghis Khan split his army, sending them across deserts and over mountains to attack the empire from multiple directions, completely surprising and overwhelming its defenders. The great Silk Road cities of Samarkand and Bukhara, centers of learning and culture, were sacked. The campaign was a whirlwind of destruction, leaving the once mighty empire in ruins. The Mongol Empire now stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. But Genghis Khan was more than just a conqueror. The empire he built, known as the Pax Mongolica or Mongol Peace, ushered in a period of unprecedented stability across Eurasia. He secured the Silk Road, making trade and travel safer than ever before. For the first time, ideas, technologies, and goods flowed freely between East and West. Gunpowder, the compass, and printing from China made their way to Europe, while Western knowledge traveled east. He established religious tolerance, allowing Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists to practice their faiths freely within his domains as long as they obeyed his laws. In 1227, during his final campaign against the Western Xia, who had betrayed him, Genghis Khan died. The exact cause of his death remains a mystery. Some say it was from injuries sustained falling off his horse. Others say it was illness. His final resting place was kept a secret, and to this day his tomb has never been found. But his legacy was secure. Before his death he had divided the empire among his sons and grandsons, ensuring its continuation. His successors, like his son Gedi and his grandson Kublai Khan, would continue his conquests, expanding the Mongol Empire even further, reaching into Europe and establishing the Yuan dynasty in China. So how do we view Genghis Khan today? As a ruthless barbarian who left a trail of destruction, or a visionary leader who united a fractured world, created a revolutionary social system, and opened up global trade? The truth, as it often is, lies somewhere in between. He was a product of his brutal time, yet he was also a man who was far ahead of it. From an abandoned boy to the ruler of the world's largest empire, the life of Genghis Khan is a powerful testament to the incredible impact one individual can have on the course of history. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next historical deep dive. See you next time.